Welcome, everyone, to the Monthly Movie Dispatch, the film review show from friends you can trust. Every week, we broadcast and review a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking, critiquing, and gushing about movies since we were in high school, and we aim to bring you honest conversation about relevant cinema from honest, real people. I am here with my good buddy, Nick Moffat.
What's up, everyone?
And my name is Sean Bolby. I'm here in Seattle, and Nick is up in Everett, Washington.
Washington, represent.
Got to. We're the only ones here who can.
Right.
Today we're going to be reviewing a movie called The Father, new film nominated for Best Picture. It just kind of came out in theaters. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the Best Picture nominees. We're going to do a real quick ranking and see what we think of the Best Picture noms.
So, I feel like we should say up front, though, real quick, that like the reason we're doing this is because the rankings or the Best Picture nominees are finally all together, right?
Yeah.
Like The Father, it feels like we've been waiting forever for The Father to come out. Maybe not forever, but it's like we're in this weird nebulous zone where the Academy Awards would have already happened and all the movies would have already came out, and this and Judas and the Black Messiah both are like 2021 movies. Like they both were released in this gray area where I don't know if we decided or not, but are you going to consider this a 2021 movie or a 2020 movie?
Well, so I think I'm going to consider, just because I hadn't seen it yet for our top 10 list, I'm just going to consider it a 2021 movie. Same with Judas and the Black Messiah. I think I had seen Judas and the Black Messiah, but at the time I didn't even realize that it was even up for this year's Best Picture. And
when we made our top 10, the Best Picture nominees were not out yet. So, we didn't know about this or Judas and the Black Messiah. And I had in my head that Judas and the Black Messiah was absolutely 2021. I mean, it was available on HBO Max first, you know, and I think The Father wasn't available in theaters at the same time but even before it was available online. So it's a little bit different, but it's just the strange thing about this gray zone. And I don't know if it's fair to include it as a 2021 or 2020, but I think it, you can do whatever you want.
Do what you want.
The year is clearly 2021, so whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, why don't we jump into it? What are your thoughts on the Best Picture nominees? Do you have?
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually thought this year's nominees, I thought they were all pretty good. I was actually really happy with these nominees. You know, there weren't any huge, like, big budgeted movies. I think all of them were kind of more of an indie flair. I also don't think there are too many like really truly like safe picks. You know, I mean, the Academy Awards usually has a few movies where you roll your eyes and you go, oh yeah, of course they nominated that one, you know, like you know, that's the one for that crowd, you know. And I honestly didn't think that this year had really any of those. I mean, maybe The Trial of Chicago 7 is one of those, and
it's close.
You know, of course Mank is like the Hollywood loves Hollywood, but like even that movie is like a lot weirder than
definitely
the typical movie about Hollywood type movie. So
like your La La Land.
Or The Artist or something. Even though I guess The Artist was kind of weird too, but you know, I don't know. I just didn't think that this year's nominees were as eye-rolly or as awards baity as other years. And to me, it was like evidence that there are plenty of good movies out. You know, just because the theaters were closed, there are plenty of good movies out. You just needed to like know where to look. And hey, that's why we got shows like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Do you have any thoughts of what you think may have been nominated for Best Picture if we weren't in COVID? Are there any movies that you think may have come out last year that? I think the obvious one is Dune may have had a chance to be nominated, and that would be a really cool one as a big budget sci-fi.
Yeah, but that's such a genre movie though. Like
Hmm.
Academy Awards typically has a hard time nominating genre, like true genre movies like that,
Yeah,
and horror movies
like
have a
Blade
really hard time.
Runner didn't 2049 didn't get
Yeah, it didn't
nominated,
get
or
diddly
did it?
squat.
Did it
No,
get nominated? No, I
not for
don't
Best
think so.
Picture. Probably Best Cinematography, but
Yeah. But yeah, why don't
yeah.
we jump into our rankings? What are your
Okay, do you want me to go first?
yeah, why don't you go first?
Okay. My number 8 was Trial of the Chicago 7. I liked it, but I definitely think it was number 8. 7 was Mank, same as well. You know, I liked Mank a lot, probably more than most people, but I also had it at number 7. I had The Father at number 6. So, you know, kind of low a little bit, but that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, I had Promising Young Women. Number 4, Minari. Number 3, The Sound of Metal. Number 2, Judas and the Black Messiah. I loved that movie. So
Yeah.
pretty high. And then number 1 was Nomadland.
Wow. Yeah. I thought for a second we may be dead on with your first two picks, but then we went, it all went awry.
Dramatically.
Yeah, dramatically. So yeah, my number 8 was Trial of Chicago 7. Number 7 was Mank, and I pretty much feel the exact same way about that you do about those two movies. But yeah, then I did Nomadland at 6, Minari at number 5, Judas and the Black Messiah at number 4, The Father at number 3, Promising Young Woman at number 2, and The Sound of Metal, I think would be really, actually any of these movies would be really cool to see win, but I think particularly Sound of Metal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, like, I would be a little disappointed if Mank or Trial of Chicago 7 won.
Mm-hmm.
Not even for like my sake, but I feel like the conversation around both those movies would be pretty annoying. It'd
Mm-hmm.
be like those are the two that I mentioned earlier as like the typical Academy movies.
Yeah.
So like, if any of our 1 through 6s actually won, it'd be like, oh hell yeah,
Yeah,
like that
definitely.
movie won.
Mm-hmm.
It was a weird year, guys.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
I do think Nomadland's gonna win. I think that's the front runner
That's
right
what everyone's saying.
So I mean, I could be wrong. I really, I don't really have my pulse on it right now, but
Yeah.
that's my front runner. This one.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. Yeah. Any other thoughts about these movies? Do you?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. Do you want to spend another 30, 40 minutes on this?
Yeah. Maybe.
Or should
I
we move on
mean,
to a
our
review of The
episodes
Father?
used to be 2 hours long sometimes, so maybe we could deep dive. But maybe we should move on.
Yeah, I say we move on. Maybe we'll do a special episode later on for the Academy Awards or something.
Yeah, and
Previewing
maybe
it or-
we'll do a our usual challenge and see who wins the best, or who has the most picks.
Yeah, I think that'd be really fun if we did that. So, the Academy Awards is in a month or so, well, we could talk about that later next month or something.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
I'm pretty eager to talk about this very sad movie
Yeah.
with you.
And
You
So,
know,
yeah.
I don't know what my face is supposed to look like while we're talking about this movie because you know, I like to smile and be encouraging of our good discussion. But man, this movie is pretty sad.
Yeah, this movie was something. So yeah, the movie that we picked this week is called The Father. It kind of just came out. I saw it in theaters. Where did you see it, Nick?
I watched it at home.
Video on demand. Did you just rent
Yeah,
it?
it's a $20 premium rental right now. So that's the way to watch it at home.
Cool.
Which, you know, is a lot of money, but you know, that's just the way of the game a little bit if
Yeah.
you're not ready to go to the theater or have the availability to go to the theater.
Yeah, and if you watch it with just two people, it's cheaper than a movie ticket. So, it's directed by Florian Zeller, starring Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman. The plot description, IMDb plot description, is: a man refuses all assistance from his daughter as he ages. As he tries to make sense of his changing circumstances, he begins to doubt his loved ones, his own mind, and even the fabric of his reality. So I was not ready for this movie. I actually have been riding my bike to the theater somewhat frequently, and going to see a movie and then riding my bike home. I go up to Alderwood typically, and I've really been enjoying that. And I didn't know a ton about this movie going into it. I kind of figured that it was about aging and perhaps dementia of some kind. Sorry, my voice is hoarse from that ride home today. But yeah, so I didn't really know a ton about it, but it took me so off guard. And mainly because this is the subject matter that this movie deals with, which is Alzheimer's and dementia, is something that I and my family and my parents have been dealing with for the last several years now, as the disease was progressing in my grandma. And we actually just lost my grandma in January, on actually January 6th, a pretty infamous day for everyone. But yeah, and it was, there were some, so yeah, that's kind of what we've been going through for a while now. And so for the last several years, couple of years, especially since she moved up here, she'd been living in California for the last 35 years or so. And as the Alzheimer's progressed far enough, my parents moved her up here and lived with them up in Marysville. And it's been really good for everyone. But I really got to see firsthand a lot of what Alzheimer's is all about. And particularly, hearing stories from my parents who were there all the time with her. And I really have to say that during that time, I had really been starting to think about the mindset of someone going through Alzheimer's and how that experience really is. What is that experience like? Because there's so many things that it's so hard to understand where the mindset is coming from. One thing that kind of pops into my head is that, and a lot of them are kind of funny and maybe even a little cute. You kind of have to take it a little lightheartedly, but one was my grandma would always talk about the old lady that my parents forced to do housework and clean up the dishes, and there's like this little old lady around the house who my parents make her carry like these big heavy stacks of dishes around the house, and it's just, there's so many things where like, where does that come from? Another one is like, she would always talk about that man who works outside across the street, which I can only assume is me coming over, and I would work out in the garage doing woodworking, and she kind of, and just like trying to understand the mindset of all that is something I've been thinking a lot about.
I remember your mom telling me about how she would watch our podcast on the TV, and then she would talk about how she like knows those people, and but they were famous people kind of to her. Yeah. Something, I can't remember the full story, but it was like a cute moment of her watching you guys, but then like talking about how she knows you and stuff. And
and then even another one, she would watch the podcast and she would almost forget that she was watching a video, and she thought she was watching like a video conference or something, like, and so she would like respond to us and talk to us as if she was on a Zoom call or FaceTime or something, but she had probably gotten used to it at that point. But yeah, so there's really a lot to this disease. and there's a lot of experiences that I could get into, and I'll probably get into a few more of them as we talk about this movie. But anyways, get back to the movie here. This movie absolutely destroyed me. I was not ready for this movie. I cried once during this movie. I uncontrollably ugly bawled, devastatingly bawled during some parts of this movie. And then on my ride home, after leaving this, I had to like kind of take some time to recenter myself, and on the ride home, I was, kind of going home on the interurban trail, and to the west, the sun was setting over the Olympic Mountains, and, just everything coming back and thinking about the movie and everything that my family had been going through. And, I cried again on the way home. This is something that I definitely cry in movies, during movies, and, I enjoy a good movie cry, but this was definitely something different. And it really is because of the unique vision of this movie and the unique way that this movie deals with its Alzheimer's, and in really getting into the question of what that experience is like, from the perspective of the Alzheimer's patient. I could get into why don't we you say what were your thoughts going into the movie, and what do you...
Sean, I really do thank you for sharing the personal story of this. I always like on podcasts and our show too, and we talk about personal stuff, but this especially, I hear you. I wouldn't be able to not talk about your personal experience, especially how you guys literally just went through, you just lost your grandmother just a few months ago. Mm-hmm. And I just know that she was such a big part of your guys' life. And Grandma Trudy, you guys mm-hmm. always talk about her, and, just seeing your family rally around her, not just you guys, but your extended family too. When she moved up here, it was really, really special. So, and I haven't really seen too much of that firsthand. Little bits, and I was in social work for a long time, so I saw sort of some of the memory stuff, but that wasn't really my clientele as much. So, I really thought this movie totally captured it, though. Even though I don't have that experience, man, this movie really it really showed that perspective. It honestly, I thought this could have been a horror movie. Mm-hmm. Just how this movie was framed, and how it was stylized. I wasn't expecting that. I honestly wasn't really looking forward to this movie, because I was just expecting it to just be a regular drama. I was mm-hmm. Okay, here we go. Here's a drama with Anthony Hopkins getting old, okay. Mm-hmm. And I knew it was going to be about, dementia or Alzheimer's. They actually I don't think they say in the movie exactly what it is, but, mm-hmm. I was kind of, I was just expecting a sad movie. What I wasn't expecting was how, disorienting the movie was. Mm-hmm. The movie, stylistically kind of reminded me of Memento. Mm-hmm. Where the cuts, the way the movie is cut and put together is purposefully jarring. The thing about Memento is that there's a structure to the movie that's very, it's like a bell curve kind mm-hmm. of. It's this, it's together. But I just feel this movie, you have to give tremendous credit to I want to say the editor,
Mm-hmm.
who, funny enough, the name is Yorgos Lanthimos,
Huh.
which is incredibly similar to the famous director,
Mm-hmm.
the guy who did The Fountain and the Lobster and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not The Fountain, Favorite and The
Yeah, the
Lobster,
favorite.
um, but also, like, the editor just, like, he cuts and pastes, and I mean, he does the
Yeah.
pacing of it, and the pacing in this movie was fantastic. But
Yeah.
like, also, like, the writing must have been really tight as well, because the movie, the style of the movie, it's like, something, the scene is going on, there's Anthony Hopkins, Olivia Colman are talking to each other, and then kind of like one of them leaves the room, and then, like, bam, Anthony Hopkins is, like, in another place and
Mm-hmm.
time, and
Yeah.
you don't know where that place and time is, and he doesn't know either, and it's incredibly disjarring. Like, it's just jarring, like, you
Mm-hmm.
have, as the audience, as, like, this is like the first thing in the movie, and you're just twisted right along with him,
Mm-hmm.
where, oh, I thought this was somewhere else, and
Yeah.
um the whole movie is like that. And you kind of get used to it as it goes along a little bit, but still you
Yeah.
have to, like, put the pieces together, which
Uh-huh.
I think at a point, you kind of, as an audience member, you kind of get further along than him. You kind of probably more understand where Olivia Colman's coming from and stuff. Like, you more understand her, but still, I was not expecting that the movie being able to emulate that feeling of being so disoriented as well as it did.
Yeah, definitely. And I really feel like the movie at any point it is really making you question where you are, and is any who anyone is, and are you all of a sudden going to jump into a different place in time? Are you going to be,
Gosh,
you know,
that's what I mean. Like, that's why I mean, like, this could have been a horror movie.
yeah,
I mean, like,
definitely.
it was a drama. Like, this wasn't a horror movie, but, like, and again, last year we had Relic, which was kind of
Hmm.
about this
Yeah.
subject matter, but as a horror movie, framed as a
Uh-huh.
genre movie. But this was, like, just from that perspective of, like, not knowing where you are, and, like, that concept could have been just slightly altered and have been, like, just based on terror
Hmm.
instead of drama.
Yeah.
And man, like just because, just thinking about it, like, it's incredibly scary, and it's frustrating,
Hmm.
and, like, you understand why people who are going through that get angry, and
Hmm.
not even sadness. Like, the thing that I kept thinking about was, like, the pride that people have. Anthony Hopkins, his character in the movie actually is named Anthony, so I'm just gonna start calling him Anthony. He was very proud. He lived his whole life in his flat, they owned, and he lived a well life, and we don't know too much about it beforehand, but you get the sense that he, like, lived a full life, and then he's starting to just lose it, and he can't explain why, and he can't explain what's happening, and it's like, it's just, all of a sudden you lose control, and
Hmm.
you're, by the time you realize it's happening, it's like you don't have the wherewithal to, like, let go of your pride, and to, like,
Yeah.
let it go or whatever.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, and it really is because you don't understand, and it really is kind of like, just imagine all, you're just kind of sitting there, and all of a sudden there's like someone in your house, and they're in your house. It's getting kind of like, this is kind of something that I experienced a lot with my grandma. You're kind of sitting there, and there's someone in your house. You think I guess you assume they're a guest. They're talking to you and they recognize you, but you don't really know who they are. So you're like, oh, they must be a neighbor, or I don't know who they are. Someone, maybe my husband knows them. And all right, it's getting kind of late. What's your plan? Oh no, we live here. This is, what do you mean? This is, no, I've been living here for, and it really is. And just literally imagine yourself today. Like, you're sitting in your house right now. Imagine if there was just someone in your house refusing to leave. And I mean, I feel like because this was such a recurring thing with my grandma, that really has to be the mindset that they are in that moment. And yeah, I mean, the great thing about this movie is really, I feel like almost everything that this movie did is something I directly experienced with my grandma. The feeling that he was in his own flat and that his daughter was trying to take his flat away from him, it is literally something that I experienced with my grandma. It was a big fight between my grandma and my mom. And you know, my grandma was crying and she couldn't believe that her own daughter was moving in and taking her house away from her, you know. And when she's up here living at my parents' house, and yeah, again, so much of this movie was directly things that I experienced, and you know, I guess I can't emphasize how accurate this movie is with that respect. Yeah, were there any scenes that really stood out to you? And actually, one thing I was kind of curious about to hear from other people is, does some of this movie seem far-fetched to people? Does any of it, at any point were you watching it and do you feel like it's a little far-fetched? Or
Well, you know, just real quick, are we doing spoilers? Like, should we get into like details like that?
I think we talked about those three things. Well, yeah. Why don't we jump into spoilers? Clearly, I mean, I think everyone has a good idea of our feelings about this movie. It's really, really good. We both highly recommend that you go see the movie. So why don't you guys go see the movie and then jump back into this review, and we'll talk about spoilers from here.
Yeah, I mean, so Sean, like, I don't know about far-fetched, but so real quick, one thing I wanted to bring up was how you were talking about how someone's living at your house or whatever. There's an early scene where Anthony is talking to a guy, and she doesn't really know who the guy is. He doesn't really know who the guy is. And then his daughter, like, oh, here she is. She's just getting back from the store. She bought chicken, and she walks in, and he doesn't recognize her.
It's not Olivia Colman.
Right, it's not Olivia Colman. So like there's a good reason to not recognize her for the audience as well. But she's played by Olivia Williams, and like again, I think it's perfect casting because I do think they look kind of alike. You know, and we're far enough. We're not very far into the movie, so you know, I had to like kind of catch myself and be like, oh yeah, that I know what Olivia Colman looks like. That's not her, but I think they made it look like her kind of on purpose. And you kind of had to like, oh yeah, okay, you know, that's not her. That's, you know, kind of check yourself. The only part that like I wonder, I don't want to say far-fetched, but the only part I wonder is kind of just how the ending built up to like an ending. You know, like the ending sort of he ends up like the end of the movie. He ends up that he's like in a hospital, and he's like it's like a nursing home. Yeah, he's like in a home, and the way that kind of built into like that kind of built up was like it was almost as if like the movie was like telling the story of like 4 years of his life or something. And you got to a point where he was like, okay, I'm at the hospital, and oh, that lady from the chicken place is Olivia Williams, and she's my nurse, and that guy in the living room was her you know, another nurse. And I don't want to say that's not believable. I just like that's a big jump almost. That's
So I don't my the one thing I would say about that is I don't think that you are supposed to understand, or like there, it's not supposed to be conclusive. I don't think you are supposed to think that the nurse was from that original scene, if that makes sense. You aren't supposed to think that those two people were in that scene. I think it was like the second or third scene of the movie where she walks in and he doesn't recognize. You aren't supposed to think that he was already in the home at that point. Is that what you're thinking? And that he was actually seeing.
I don't know. I don't know, but like as we're talking about it, I'm kind of like wondering, I'm kind of wondering if maybe the whole movie, like he was in the home, if in the whole movie he was kind of reliving those memories or something.
I don't think it was anything like that. It really was the way that it's trying to get you to experience the way a human brain experiences memories and reality as it's progressing through Alzheimer's. And he has a recognition of these people. And that recognition is brought on by past experiences, but whose face you're associating with these different memories, and is very, I think is very challenging with Alzheimer's. Obviously, many times my grandma would mistake my uncle for her husband. She would mistake me for someone else. She would even like be talking to my mom, her daughter, and be talking about Linda, her daughter. My mom's name is Linda. And then my mom would say, "No, I'm Linda. I'm your daughter." And she said, "No, I know. I'm talking about my other daughter, Linda." And then do you have, and it's just like there's the way that I mean, I'm not a neuroscience, I have a very incredibly limited understanding of this, but the way your brain recognizes faces and associates memories with those faces is completely put into a tumble, into a tumble machine. And so I think in that scene, the fact that we recognize those faces from earlier in the movie, it doesn't mean that those were the same people from earlier, it's really just completely messing with your ability to recognize people and to associate memories with those people. That's the way I understood it.
Yeah, I just, they could have cast anyone in there. So you don't think it was purposeful that they had like the nurse, like that wasn't supposed to be like a big reveal of some sort?
No, I don't think. I think it was just like throughout the movie, they would bring in different actors into different scenes to throw you. I think that really was
just like just a person or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I think that was
credits. In the credits, Olivia Williams is listed as woman, and I can't remember the actor's name, but he's just listed as man. So it's like they could be like fill-ins, that sort of thing.
For a lot of different people, and it really is. It's just because he in that scene, that ending scene, he recognized them. There was like, I recognize that person, but he probably recognized him from the day before, but isn't able to really pull up those memories. And so he's trying to bring that recognition somewhere, and it's making these odd connections that a normal brain wouldn't make. And that's kind of one of the brilliant things of the movie, is how it makes you question that reality that he is experiencing. And I don't think there's supposed to be a well-defined series of events that, I mean, we could just take the Paris thing. I mean, if you try to track that logically, there is no logical tracking of that where she's in the opening scene, she says she's going to move to Paris. And, you know, he says, that's ridiculous. They don't even speak English there, which is a really cute, reoccurring line that he says throughout the movie. But when did that scene happen? Because, and then later on he says she's going to Paris, and she's like, what? Well, I'm not going to Paris. Where do you get that? He's been saying that all week. Why does he think?
And then other things too, like she like talks like she's gonna go to Paris to live with a man.
Yeah.
But she's been divorced for 5 years, and then like a couple scenes later, her husband is there living at the house, and you know, I mean, Sean, don't get me wrong, I didn't think that the movie was necessarily trying to you know, tie everything together, you know, like the same way like a movie like Memento would be. You know, Memento is supposed to be like a tightly packaged, like, hey, everything makes sense, there is order to this. This movie, you know, when I watched it, I was thinking this is purposefully chaotic. You know, they are disorienting you on purpose to emulate that experience. And yeah, I guess I was just bringing up the culmination of the ending, because I guess I was wondering if you thought there was a sort of culmination, if they tied everything together. But I mean, I'm with you. I don't think that there really was, because yeah, like the movie just skipped around too much, right? Like it was pretty much like all over the place.
And it really is. It's about, again, I keep coming back to this. It's about him. The state of his brain and him trying to put the pieces together that his brain isn't able to bring together. And so like in those early scenes when he's talking about Paris and she's like, why do you keep talking about Paris? I mean, obviously it doesn't make sense if she hasn't even talked about moving to Paris. Why would he be bringing up the Paris when she does later on end up moving to Paris? So how does that work? It's more about, she may have like mentioned going on a trip at some point, and he says, or maybe he picked that up from somewhere else, and he brings that up, and she says, "No, I'm not going to Westchester. No, I'm not going to." And then but then later on, when he knows that she's going to Paris, that she's in Paris, or that when it's brought up that has gone to Paris or she's going to Paris, he's confused because he thought she said she wasn't going to Paris. Whereas like the conversation from much earlier is, no, this was a conversation about I don't know English towns, Manchester. She's not going to Manchester. It was this conversation about not going to Manchester. Whereas now when she's moving to Paris, he is saying from a long time ago that you had said that you're not going to Paris. If that, I mean, I'm trying. That's not in the text
of the movie, though. Yeah. I mean, like that's not like a thing that, you know, the movie isn't built in that way where there was a previous conversation about going to Paris or going anywhere. Like the movie is kind of on that one track. Like you're just kind of following his experience, and it's like he's just kind of reliving his memory a little bit, but it's like he's walking through it, kind of.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, it's not like that there wasn't another trip necessarily, but there was there was an ex-husband, and the ex-husband did treat him poorly, and they didn't get along, and then Anne, played by Olivia Colman, they got divorced, and you don't see all the details of that, but like you can put it together. Yeah, I don't know.
And that comes back to the what was I going to say? Anyways,
I kept thinking that. So at some point, Mogen Poots is her name. She shows up to be one of the new caretakers.
Yeah.
And again, like this thing with the caretaker keeps like coming back, and you don't know at what point she's like at some point a caretaker leaves. Like that's like the beginning of the movie is that caretaker leaves, and I got the sense that kind of like started this whole thing. Like not maybe not the whole dementia thing, but like started like I don't know, the track of him winding up at the hospital. Again, I don't know if the movie is supposed to be like a journey in that sense. I think the movie is, I don't even want to say metaphorical, but I think it is working on another level where it's more about the experience rather than the plot. And
I think you can, in hindsight, looking at the movie, you can kind of track, and make some guesses, but you can kind of track a series of events that is likely to have happened. But the way he is experiencing everything is very turned around and
yeah. So, but yeah, I kept thinking that she was maybe going to turn into or turn out to be the other daughter, because Olivia Colman had a sister, and he talks about her often, and it's not revealed until the end that she had died in a car accident. But I kept thinking that maybe she was going to turn out to be, I don't know, be her or something. Like he was like that was going to be like he had her image in his head or something. But she just turned out to be his caretaker, and I mean, I just wanted to say she's a great actress. I think that she's going to be something in the years to come. She just has like a look about her. Imogen Poots. So.
I mean, and just all across the board, incredible performances, and obviously, particularly Anthony Hopkins. You have anything you wanted to say about? Is there a scene that particularly stood out? Obviously, the final scene of the movie is, for me, a groundbreaking a game-changing performance. But is there anything else that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, the two scenes that I wanted to mention were there was a scene where the ex-husband kind of got physical with Anthony. He slapped him around, and it was a pretty rough scene to watch. I mean, elder abuse happens, and it's extremely disturbing. And I think what made that scene extra disturbing was how confused Anthony was. And I mentioned pride earlier. I think pride is a huge factor with this mental disorder, and I think that when Anthony tried to stand up to him, he was kind of like, hey, I'm not going to take this. You can't talk to me that way, because he was talking down to him. The ex-husband said something like, how long are you going to stay here bothering us, sort of a thing. And it's like, who talked, it's very rude. But part of me has to say, like, it probably does take incredible patience to live with and maintain this sort of relationship with people that are going through this. That no excuse for someone to talk to someone this way, though. Like, this guy was a total asshole. And then Anthony kind of tried to stand up to him, and then the guy slapped him around, and it was pretty upsetting. And Olivia Colman then came in. She didn't see the slapping, but I think she put it together. And I think that's why they got divorced. They don't really say it directly, but I'm pretty sure that's what led to it. And then I mean, basically the end of the movie. The end. I tried to find the quote, but I couldn't find it. But Anthony's kind of having a breakdown at the hospital. He's kind of realizing where he's at and what's happening, and he says something like, I feel like I'm losing all of my leaves.
Yeah, that was such a great line.
Yeah, and the nurse is kind of like, what are you talking about? And we've been watching this whole movie, and you get the sense that the branch, not the branch, but like the tusk of a tree and the branches that come out, like that's kind of like your body, or like the spine of who you are. And then the leaves are like all the details and all the memories and like the experiences that make you who you are. And him saying that was just kind of like he's losing all those experiences. He's losing all those pieces. They're just kind of floating away in the breeze. And
and he's trying to hold on to, like, Yeah, that's such a great metaphor. You're trying to hold on to these pieces, but every time anything changes, you're just losing more, and everything's making less and less sense. And yeah, that was a truly powerful scene. Um, it, and I have to say, I was crying so hard that I kind of missed some of the scene too.
Yeah, don't
Um,
blame you.
and yeah, it
Did you
was
see
a
the final shot was trees? It was like leaves.
yeah,
Trees.
definitely. Yeah, and how it all just kind of comes together with his daughter, with Olivia Colman, and then Olivia Colman's sister, and kind of how you start piecing things together. I think was really incredible writing. One scene that I really liked, that really kind of threw me off, and like kind of showed that the movie was doing something even different from itself, was the scene where he walks into the kitchen and Olivia Colman and her husband are having a fight. And then he's kind of listening and watching them, and they realize that he's there. And then they say, okay, come on and sit down. And he sits down and he's eating dinner with them. And there's a lot going on in the conversation, a lot of subtext going on. And he kind of says, all right, I'm going to go get some more dinner. And so then he like stands up and walks out of the room and gets more dinner, and then it sticks with Olivia Colman and the husband, and they start having a conversation again, and they start getting into a fight, and then slowly you start to realize that they're having the same fight that they were having in the beginning of the scene, and then Anthony Hopkins kind of walks in, and then they notice him, and like the scene kind of starts over. And I thought was such a brilliant kind of sequence of events that like really threw me off in a really interesting way. And yeah, just all the dynamics of that scene, all the little subtext and all the little subtleties of the performances was something that really stood out to me.
Great movie.
Yeah, really, really something special. Really a fascinating movie. It's something
I would say Anthony Hopkins would definitely deserves to win Best Actor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want him to, just because I know he's won in the past. I kind of kind of like when the awards go to people who haven't won before. For
I mean,
reasons,
my attitude kind of going into it was exactly the same. It would be, I assumed he would put out a stellar performance. You can just make that assumption. But then once I saw this movie, I was just like, any other, anyone else to win would almost just be a little dishonest. I feel like that was truly an incredible performance. Some of the best acting I've ever seen in my life.
And it's tough just because I feel like the only fault of this movie really is that the subject matter is just so hard to ever want to rewatch it. You know what I mean? It's too real. It's no fun. It's just really upsetting.
I mean, I will say, I found some catharsis in it. I didn't hate the experience. I will also say it was 90 minutes. It was, just over 90 minutes. So it doesn't it doesn't hold you down in that moment, in that, really depressing, sadness, all encompassing sadness for an excessive amount of time.
I wouldn't call this depression porn or anything like that. You know what I mean? I've definitely seen more straight up sad movies, but again, the subject matter is just so tough. It's just so unsettling, and I mean it's deeply sad. So I don't know. I don't really know what I'm saying except
I've really been struggling to whether or not I want to recommend this movie to my parents and my family.
I mean, you could show them this review and then decide for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say like it really is it's a cathartic experience to kind of relive a lot of that and relive it from from the perspective of an Alzheimer's patient. And but on the other hand, it could be too much. It was a lot to handle, and it might not be something that my family would want to go through.
Right.
No.
Maybe not right away.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's the movie. I highly recommend it if you can, if that interests you at all. I think it's well worth watching. I think it's well worth the sadness, the intensity of the movie. But yeah, that's take it or leave it. See it or don't.
Yeah. So Sean, I mean, personally for me, I think that every movie, I think you should seek out every Best Picture nominee. You know, if you're a movie person, like this year especially, like seek out those movies. But what would you star rate this one?
Oh God, I straight up gave it 5 stars. I mean, and it could in part be That's what I just went through, but any movie that can make me feel that hard is it's automatic 5 stars. I can't there's kind of no question for me.
Cool.
How about you? What did you give it?
I'll probably, I don't think I put anything on Letterboxd yet, but I think I'll probably do 4.5 at this point. I kind of wanted to like see how this conversation was going to go a little bit, just because I don't know, I was kind of like, I knew how great it was, but I also like, I don't know, I wanted to talk it out.
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to talk it out.
I've been wanting to talk about this movie since like 2-3 weeks ago when I saw it. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Me finally.
Too. But yeah, so that's our review. So what do we have next coming up? We have Godzilla versus King Kong coming up next week. Should be a less sad movie than this, and maybe more fun, or maybe not. We'll see. We know? I don't think we know who's hosting next week.
No, we know.
Oh, we do? Okay.
We talked about this. Yeah.
I was working all day.
Godzilla versus Kong, and it's gonna be straight up on HBO Max or in theaters. But yeah, Brandon's gonna be the host on this one. I think Derek's gonna be the number 2. So cool. Derek and Brandon will be here next week unless things change. But we're definitely doing Godzilla versus Kong. So big blockbuster.
Yeah.
Blockbusters are coming back. So yeah.
Yeah.
Who's gonna win? I mean, if you had to put money on it,
yeah,
I would say how the hell is Kong going to be Godzilla? That just doesn't make sense to me.
They made Kong a lot bigger but he doesn't have any special powers, does
that's
he?
What I'm saying.
He's just.
But here's the thing, though. The movie is Godzilla versus Kong, not King Kong. The last Godzilla movie was Godzilla King of the Monsters. So.
Yeah, well, if he's the king of the monsters, then Godzilla's a monster.
That's what I'm saying. So Kong's gonna beat him, and then he'll be King Kong.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta say, I haven't. The only Godzilla movie I have ever seen is Godzilla 2000.
The Roland Emmerich one.
Yeah. Is that? Yeah. That I guess that is.
No, that's 98. I'm sorry, that's 98. Never mind.
The one with Puff Daddy doing the soundtrack that I bought. And I listened to that album, that soundtrack so hard. And Matthew Broderick. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, and leave a comment in the notification bell. And I hope to see you guys next time.
Peace out.
Bye.